If I asked you, when are you going to retire, what would you say? Maybe you'd tell me in a few years or when I'm 65 years old. But what if I asked you this question? What month are you going to retire? Would you have an answer? See, we've all been conditioned to think of retirement as an age milestone. So we think about what year we'll retire or how old we'll be, right? But very few people stop to think about the actual month they retire, even though that month ends up shaping one of the most important financial years of their life. So the goal today is to walk through this conversation the same way I would if you were sitting across from me in my office. Slow, clear, intentional, and focused on what actually changes when you retire in January instead of December or April instead of October. And at the end of the video, I'll even show you how you can get a free video review from us with our recommendation on your ideal retirement month. Hi, I'm Josh Palmer, Director of Financial Planning for the Noble Group. I'm a certified financial planner with more than 25 years of experience working with people just like you. The first thing you need to know is this. Your retirement month matters far more than the average person realizes because your retirement year is financially unique. It's not like any other year of your working life, and it's not like any other year of your retired life. It's a transition year, and during that transition, multiple financial systems collide. Your working income and your retirement income overlap. Benefits begin, benefits end, and all of this shows up on a single tax return. So let's break this down step by step, beginning with what actually hits your tax return in the year you retire, because that sets the stage for everything else we'll talk about. In a normal year, your tax return is either based solely on your wages or solely on your retirement income. But in the year you retire, it's a blend. If you retire later in the year, say in November or December, you've earned almost a full year of wages already. You may have received a bonus earlier in the year or maybe a PTO payout. If you're in a corporate setting, you might have stock awards that vest automatically in certain months, regardless of whether you're still working. And then, depending on how your retirement dates line up, you might start taking your first pension payment or draw your first Social Security check. You might take an initial withdrawal from your IRA or 401k to set up your cash flow. All of that gets thrown into the same tax year, piled on top of one another. This is the income stack. And the problem with the income stack is that it pushes people into higher tax brackets than they expected. That means more of your income is taxed at higher rates during your retirement year than in almost any other year of your life. You're not doing anything wrong. You're not mismanaging anything. You're simply stacking multiple income sources that would normally never overlap. And that overlap is triggered almost entirely by your retirement month. Now imagine a different scenario. Instead of retiring in November or December, imagine retiring in February or March. Now your wages stop much earlier. Instead of having a full year of income on your tax return, you only have 6 or 8 weeks of wages. That drastically lowers your taxable income. And because that taxable income is lower, everything else that hits your return that year becomes far more manageable. Social Security could become less taxable. Medicare penalties could become easier to avoid. And some of the best long-term planning strategies become more affordable. So the retirement month matters because it dictates whether your retirement year becomes a high-income year or a low-income year. And that high-income versus low-income distinction creates ripple effects across your entire financial plan. One of the biggest ripple effects is the way Social Security is taxed. Social Security taxation is based on something called provisional income, which includes your wages, IRA withdrawals, interest, dividends, and half of your Social Security benefit. When provisional income is high, up to 85% of your Social Security benefit is taxed. But when provisional income is low, sometimes only a small percentage is taxable, and in rare cases, none of it is taxable. So if you retire in December and start Social Security immediately, you are essentially dumping your benefit into a year where your provisional income is extremely high because you've already earned a full year of wages. That means you're almost guaranteed to have 85% of your benefit taxed. But if you retire earlier, let's say January, February, or March, you can control exactly when you want Social Security to begin. And you can let your wages fall off your tax return before your benefit starts. That lowers provisional income, which lowers the taxation of your Social Security, and that saves you real money. Now, on the subject of Social Security, many retirees are surprised to learn how much flexibility they have with timing. You're allowed to start any month after age 62. You're allowed to delay until age 70. And you're allowed to coordinate your Social Security start date with your retirement month strategically. So that's one example of how your retirement month doesn't just affect your taxes, it affects the tax treatment of one of your most important retirement income sources. The next major system affected by your retirement month is Medicare. When people enroll in Medicare, usually at age 65, they assume the premium is the same for everyone. But Medicare uses an income-based surcharge system called IRMAA, which stands for Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. IRMAA penalties can raise your Medicare premium significantly, sometimes by hundreds of dollars per month. And here's the tricky part. IRMAA is not based on your current year's income. It's based on the income from 2 years earlier. So if you retire in December and create a massive taxable year, full wages, bonuses, Social Security income, pension income, IRA withdrawals, Medicare will penalize you 2 years later. But if you retire earlier in the year and your taxable income falls dramatically, you may never trigger IRMAA at all. There is almost nothing more frustrating for a retiree than learning they owe higher Medicare premiums because of income they earned 2 years ago, income they no longer have, and income they could have easily avoided by choosing a different retirement month. This is why planning your retirement month strategically is so important. It allows you to avoid IRMAA penalties by simply not stacking too much income into a single year. Now let's talk about Roth conversions. Roth conversions are one of the most powerful long-term planning strategies available to retirees. A Roth conversion allows you to move money from a traditional IRA into a Roth IRA and pay the taxes today so you can avoid taxes in the future. The goal is to convert money when your tax rate is low, not when your tax rate is high. And the best time for low tax rates is often the first few years of retirement. But here's the catch. If you retire in December, your first retirement year may still be a high income year, which means Roth conversions are far more expensive. If you retire in March, however, your income drops immediately and you can begin converting right away at lower rates. This one difference can save retirees tens of thousands of dollars over the course of their retirement. Now think about how your retirement month affects portfolio withdrawals. When you retire, your investments begin funding your lifestyle. If you retire in January, you need to draw 12 full months of income from your portfolio that year. If you retire in March, you only need 9 months of withdrawals. If you retire in June, you need 6, and if you retire in December, you might only need 1 month. The fewer withdrawals you make in a given year, the less exposed you are to something called sequence of returns risk, the risk of withdrawing money during market downturn early in your retirement. Sequence of returns risk is one of the biggest threats to the longevity of your portfolio. So lowering your withdrawal needs in your first retirement year can make a meaningful difference, especially if the markets happen to be volatile. Another overlooked aspect of retirement timing is healthcare. When you retire, you may need to transition from employer insurance to Medicare, COBRA, or a private plan. Retiring later in the year can lead to overlapping deductibles, complicated coverage periods, or rushed transitions. Retiring earlier in the year often leads to smoother transitions, giving you time to understand new coverage, meet new deductibles strategically, and avoid surprises. Pension timing is another area where the retirement month matters. Some pension plans credit you for an entire year of service, even if you work only 1 day into the new year. That means retiring on January 2nd might permanently increase your pension. Retiring on December 31st could cost you additional credit. It's a tiny rule hidden in thousands of pension documents, but it's the type of thing that can boost your income for the next 20 to 30 years. Now, beyond all the financial reasons, we can't ignore the emotional side of retiring. Retiring in December can feel rushed. The holidays are loud, work is chaotic, everyone is trying to finish projects. There's stress around family gatherings, travel, year-end deadlines. It's not always the best climate for one of the biggest life transitions you'll ever make. Retiring earlier, say January or February, often feels like a clean slate. It's the start of a new year. People feel refreshed. They're more open to change. You get a psychological fresh start, which can be incredibly valuable. Something people rarely talk about is how emotionally difficult those last few months of work can be when you know you're already retiring. Those are the months where burnout is highest. People start mentally checking out. Projects feel heavier, work can feel more exhausting. So sometimes choosing to retire earlier simply to spare yourself those draining final months can make your overall transition feel lighter, healthier, and more positive. So when we look at everything together, tax implications, Social Security implications, Medicare implications, the Roth conversion opportunities, investment withdrawal strategy, healthcare timing, pension rules, and the emotional rhythm of your life, the conclusion becomes incredibly clear. Yes, the month you retire absolutely matters. It matters in ways most people never consider until they've already passed the point where they can change it. Choosing the right retirement month can reduce your taxes, lower your Medicare premiums, preserve your portfolio, improve your cash flow, and create a smooth emotional transition. Choosing the wrong month can do the opposite. And the thing is, this isn't just about avoiding mistakes. It's about creating opportunities. Retiring earlier in the year often creates a cleaner, more flexible, more strategic planning environment. It gives you control over your income, control over your tax bracket, and control over how your retirement year shows up on paper. And that's really the heart of the conversation, control. Most people approach retirement thinking the date is fixed and the outcome is fixed. But by choosing your retirement month intentionally, you gain control over your first retirement year. And that first year sets the tone for everything that follows. So what month should you choose? The truth is, it depends on your income sources, your healthcare situation, and your pension rules, your Social Security strategy, and your emotional readiness. But more often than not, retiring earlier in the year provides the cleanest and most tax-efficient transition. Not always, but more often than people expect. The best way for you to know is to request your free video review and have us run your unique numbers. We'd be honored to help you ensure your transition is as smart and seamless as possible. You've worked hard for this next chapter. Let's make sure it begins the right way. Thanks for watching.